Hi everybody, Cheryl and Lady coming to you from the Ladies Garden and Home, and today we're going to winter sow some summer flowers. So I hope you join us. So in my last video I showed you all of the flowers that I was planning on putting out in the garden this year in 2024. But I thought what I would do today is take you with me for sowing some of these flowers that I'm actually going to be winter sowing using my mini greenhouse on the back deck. So the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to jump right into it, is we're going to make up some potting mix. I don't just kind of buy it pre-made just to save a little bit of money. So the first thing I do is I start with some coconut coir. This comes in a nice like compressed block, and then I pour boiling water on it. I've done that already. And then when you pour water on it, it expands. Now I use boiling water because I want to make sure that I kill off any like gnat eggs or that kind of thing. So this was pre-boiled, and I just let it cool overnight. And what I do is I take 2 parts of the coconut coir, Did I step on you? I'm sorry. Here, finish eating. And then I take 1 part vermiculite. This is very fine vermiculite, specifically for potting mix. And this really aids in drainage, and it makes it very fluffy. So 1 part of that. Give or take. Then 1 part compost, and if you have a thicker, kind of chunkier compost, you're going to want to sieve it and just to make it fine. But this has been very fine for me so far. No lumps or chunks of wood or anything like that. So I'm going to throw this in. Hi, Fluffer. Then some earthworm castings, and just about a half a part of that. And then this mycorrhizal inoculant. This is for root development. Just a little bit, you don't need a lot. And then I just mix it up. Break up any of the lumps that you see until it's all incorporated. Add a little bit of water. I want to moisten it up, kind of like the consistency of brownie mix. And this is very important to have it nice and firm inside the cell. For when you go to transplant, the soil doesn't fall away and leave the roots exposed. And although it's fine to transplant your plant that way, I find that when the roots stay in the soil, it reduces transplant shock. This also eliminates air pockets as the roots are growing, you want them to be able to be in contact with the soil and not the air. And then fill it back up again. Make sure you're filling it. Doesn't have to be to the tippy top because we want to leave a little room there for when we actually sow the seedling. So now what we're going to do is we're going to really wet it very thoroughly. Then we're going to let that drain out. Okay, so it stopped draining out of the bottom. So we're going to go sit down over there and we're going to sow the seeds. Winter sowing is something new to me. I've not tried it before, but I see a lot of success stories on the gardening channels that I follow. So I thought I would experiment this year and give it a shot. If something doesn't work out, I can either re-sow it or I can, find them at a flower market or something. But these are the ones that I'm going to be sowing outside in the greenhouse. Sweet Alyssum, Cosmos, Marigolds, Pansies, and Zinnias. And these are the ones that I think will do the best outside under cover in a relatively uncontrolled environment, except for the fact that the greenhouse on a sunny day really warms up quite a bit, sometimes into the 80s and 90s, and then I have to vent it. But it can still get down very, very cold at night. If we're having 20-degree weather, it'll get in the 30s. So there's a little bit of an insulation there. Okay, the Sweet Alyssum. Reading the back of the packet here, it says, press seeds into the soil. Light is needed for germination. So I'm not going to put any soil on top. Oops. Well, they're pretty tiny. And I'm just going to do 3 or 4 in each cell. Although I have to admit, they're so small I can hardly see it, and I have a feeling we're going to be kind of heavily seeding. Yeah, I can't just do 3 or 4. It's just, they're too tiny. Oh well, more Alyssum for me. It's like putting toothpaste back in the tube. Okay, we're just going to leave that like that. All right, next is Cosmos. Here's a little trick when you're sowing in small cells like this where there's a lot of them. These are the plastic bags I use to create humidity. I'm just going to put it like this so that these tiny seeds don't go into the neighbor's cells. So the Cosmos, since I have 3 different colors, I'm going to mix them up in my hand because I want them to be mixed. Oh, let's read the packet. Okay. Planting depth, 1/4 inch. Well, those are pretty big. There aren't that many of these lemony ones left. So I'm just going to finish up that packet. So the planting depth on the packet said 1/4 of an inch. And I find that instead of trying to bury these seeds, it's easier if I just put a very light layer of the coconut coir on top. And then I'll cover them up and pat it down very lightly. Marigolds are next. This says that the planting depth is 1/4 inch as well. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to just lightly put them on top, about 3 per cell. This pansy is called Pansy Frizzle Sizzle. Isn't that pretty? This one says cover lightly with soil. So that means that it probably needs light as well. So we're going to put very little. Oh, I don't have many left of these Pansy Frizzle Sizzles. Doing 2 per cell, and I'll see how far I get. Okay, can fill in with what I have left over. All right, cover very lightly with soil. And for the last one, we've got zinnia. These are seeds that I saved myself. They were a mixture of different colors. And I have been, these I saved back in 2020. So I still have quite a few left, so I figured I'd use them up. But I'm going to sow them pretty heavily since these are, you know, getting a little older now. Alrighty, I'm not sure what the depth is, but since it's a big seed, I'm going to probably do at least 1/2 inch on top. Okay, 5 different types of flowers, different planting instructions, but now we're going to give each of these a very nice dose of water. Give it a good spritz. Make sure that those seeds are nice and doused. I always like to say that this is like waking them up. Okay, it's time to grow now. I think I broke my water bottle. All right, that's probably enough. So since I don't have a plastic bag large enough, I'm going to put down a sheet of plastic wrap on top as the humidity dome. And this is temporary. This is only going to be until they sprout, because then I'll take this off to prevent them from getting too humid and then starting to dampen off. But that should be good until germination. I meant to mention this earlier. I got this off of Amazon in the summer. It's just gardening. I wish I knew the name of it, but it's just really a gardening mat. And as you can see, it keeps the table clean. It comes in handy inside and out, but especially inside when you don't have a dedicated place in your house just for gardening stuff you do. So I like it. So that's about it. I'll keep you posted on how the winter sown flowers grow in the next couple of weeks. I have a feeling that their germination is going to be slower than if I were to do it inside in a warm house. Kind of makes sense. But, you know, the point is that they're on their own clock, and they will apparently germinate and start growing when they are ready to do so. Anyway, I do have a lot more sowing to do inside. I've done a couple of videos in the past on sowing seeds, so I hope you check out my, my channel. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like. And I hope you subscribe and join our growing community. And from the Ladies Garden and Home, enjoy your gardening journey. Bye! Say goodbye, lady. Lady. How about you, Fluffer? They would say goodbye if they were awake.